So all these videos usually start the same. People saying, I wish I saw this message, this video when I was in college. And in reality, when I was in college, if I would have watched this video, it would have helped me because back then I was ready to receive a message like this. But in high school, if you showed me this video, I would be like, I don't really care. Okay, honestly, because it all depends on the stage you are in life. And if you're watching this video right now, if you searched it, if you clicked it, I know for sure you're ready to hear this message. By the time I hit college, I was about 17 years old. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in accounting by the time I was like 21, and I had about $20,000, a business that made me about $8,000 per month, and I had 3 side hustles. I had a dream that I basically accomplished, and I also had 2 jobs while I was actually in college. I did a lot in college. I took the juice out of college, and I really wasn't broke in college only for one moment. And that one moment, it was basically changed me forever. And I was like, I never ever want to feel this feeling again of having to go to my mom and ask her for my daily $10. I felt so embarrassed, and I had no money, and I had all these wants, and I had no way to actually get it. So what I did was a lot. In this video, I'm gonna tell you exactly what I did. Now, if you wanna go to this extreme, it's up to you. If you wanna take a few things here and there, it's up to you. Now, I will say this one thing is very important as you watch this video. Remember, okay? To me, college is super important. If you pick the right career, it can be a great investment. If you pick the wrong one, it can be stupid and terrible, and I don't recommend it. But overall, people always say the C students in college, they hire the A students, the B students work for the government, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. You don't have to be an idiot in college. You don't have to barely be passing. You can do both. It's fine. But it takes a lot of sacrifice and a lot of work, and it's possible. I made it on the dean's list, on the president's list. I graduated Phi Beta Kappa, something about that. I don't even know, okay? I did good in college, okay? And I still made a bunch of money, and I did a lot of great work there. So it takes work, it takes effort, and you don't gotta graduate as a dummy at all right? That's all I'm saying here. And as always, guys, like this video, on top of that, also subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified. But by the way, college to me is not like the biggest deal. It's where you go to learn a skill, and while you're learning the skill, the most important thing is, and by the way, this is a big mistake people make, and I made it too, you learn a skill, but you don't go outside of college to actually apply it. You don't get an internship, you don't get a job, even though if you're not ready, do it, okay? If I was doing accounting, I wish I would have taken, for example, a bookkeeping job, or for example, a job in a business or whatever, even if it was for free, because it would have helped me out a lot. But eventually, I did get the chance to apply a lot of what I learned in like a small business. But overall, most of the accounting things I learned, as far as like taxes and filing forms, whatever, I've lost all those skills because the only reason or the only way I use accounting today is for the application of investments. And that's completely different than the application of taxes and helping people with like ways to do loopholes around taxes and so on, okay? So whatever you learn, apply it. That's all I'm saying. Now, in this video, here's the main thing, guys, okay? There are 4 main things I did when I was in college. First, I figured out that time equals money. I got jobs. Second, I figured out that effort, skill equals more money. I got side hustles. Third, I figured out that patience equals a lot of money, wealth, immense wealth. And that's basically, I worked on my dream. And fourth, I figured out that knowledge is way better than money. And I'm gonna show you exactly how all these 4 things apply. First things first, guys, okay? When I was in college and I first got there, I knew for sure that I needed to get some capital. I needed to get money in my hands. Now, what I used that money for, if I'm being honest with you, was for ridiculous things. I did everything that every single college student does. I was a dummy. I spent all my money on food, all my money on clothes, and I felt like I was living paycheck to paycheck because I really was. And I had no expenses because I lived with my mom at the time, and I was like, I don't know where this money goes. It goes into you trying to look like something you're not. I made that big mistake, okay? Now, my first jobs were this, okay? I got a job doing work study. That job paid me about $1,000 to $1,200 every single month. That was the time equals money. And after I was done with that job, I basically went over to the Gap. And I would work there and get an extra $400 to $800 every, well, yeah, something about that. Every single week was about $400, $500. So it'd be like around like $800 to $1,000 a month. So overall, you got this college student making about like $2,000 a month, maybe like $2,400 every now and then too. And I was like, wow, this is actually a lot of money, but the money wouldn't last me. I spent spent all the money on sneakers, on a lot of dumb stuff, and it actually was terrible. And I hated working these jobs because I realized something very early on, that it didn't matter how hard I worked at the time, because time was just money. I did double the work as my coworkers in my work study job. I'm not even trying to show any shade or anything like that, but I did double the work. And we still got the same exact paycheck, and I hated it because I was like, I'm doing more work. Why am I not being valued more? And the answer was, Tommy, this is just work study. Don't take it too seriously. And obviously, that kind of crushed me, and it actually made me not want to do that much work. But I realized, and I learned this, that the way you do one thing in life is the way you do everything. So even when you're not being valued, do not undervalue your level of work and commitment, because that would go into your entire life. So don't do that. Maintain. Do excellent work for the sake of excellent work, not for the sake of a paycheck. Now, I learned that lesson. Eventually, I learned to use that paycheck to save money, to save money, to save money, to do other things. And that's where I got into side hustles. I started about 3 when I was in college. The first one was basically reselling things. I resold phones. I resold all the sneakers I had because I realized I was stupid. And I also resold things that I found, for example, on, what's that thing called? Goodwill. So I would go to Goodwill on the weekends with my friend, and I would basically buy a bunch of things, sell it on eBay, and make some extra money. And on top of that, I started a little business with my accounting skills where I basically help small businesses and so on. That made me money too. And then on top of that, I also, what was the third side hustle that I actually did? I actually don't remember. The third one was actually, what was it? Phone business. Oh, and I also started a drop shipping business, which basically means I would buy things on Amazon and then basically sell them on eBay. And that was actually pretty cool. But overall, what I loved most about this was basically that for the first time, it wasn't time equals money. It was skill equals money. So the better I was at it, the harder I worked at it, the more money I made. I remember one month, I sold over $20,000 worth of goods on eBay, doing very little work. And my cut was about like $1,200 on that. I was like, yo, this is so cool. Like, this is so awesome. And when I would go to Goodwill and buy things here and there, I would make like $75 profit on one item, $40 profit. And I was like, yo, I'm getting so good at this. And when I was reselling things like shoes and phones and all these cool things, I was like, yo, I'm able to make so much more money because I'm able to overwork everybody else. And that made me feel really good because for the first time ever, I noticed that, hey, the smarter you are, the harder you work, the more of a hustler you are, the more money you're gonna make. It wasn't just about, I put in this much time and I get this paycheck. No, it was about effort. And that made me feel so good. So that was that. That's where I learned skill equals money. Now, the third part was I learned how to work on my dream even when I didn't see anything work out. Now, my dream at the time was basically becoming a YouTuber since I was 11 years old. And I did over 500, maybe even more videos while I was in college, and those videos basically sucked. They were terrible, but it taught me valuable things. It taught me how to work in the dark when no one was noticing, taught me how to edit, how to speak, how to verbalize my ideas, how to wait patiently, how to wait my turn, and most importantly, it taught me how not to care about how people basically thought about me in certain ways. And that's when I finally got the courage to say, hey, the thing I love the most is to talk about money. I'm gonna make a channel talking about money, and it became very successful. And here we are, talking about money and stuff like that, and that made me a lot of money too. Now, YouTube can make anywhere from 10,000 to 40K a month, depending on the month, and depending on what I'm actually doing, okay? But my overall goal with YouTube has always been one thing: create a valuable piece of content that can help somebody. Not multitudes of people, just one person. If I can help you, just that one person, my job has been done. Now, from that side hustles, I created that little accounting business, which basically made me around like $8,000 per month, and that was awesome. And I also tried a lot of things that I basically did not like. Before I got to this channel, I tried a lot of different ones. I learned to fail while I was in college. I basically had a massive security nest or harness, like, which is basically my parents' house, okay? If I failed, didn't matter. I knew I had somewhere to sleep. I had a hot meal, I had clothes, and I was back at it again, okay? Which was actually pretty cool, honestly. Like, it gave me a lot of confidence to be able to fail over and over again. Doesn't mean it was nice, doesn't mean it felt good, but that's what I did. Now, the third thing, or is it the fourth thing? Is it the fourth thing, or we're on the fourth thing? Yeah, we're on the fourth thing. So the fourth thing, and by the way, when I say patience equals wealth, not just money, because when you work hard on a dream, that has a lot of potential for a lot. It can take you a long time to achieve, but once you achieve it, it can make you a lot of money, wealth, and that's awesome. A job can just make you a living, but a career, a business, a dream can basically make you very wealthy. Now, the last thing is I learned that knowledge is better than money. I became a sucker for just reading and devouring books. From the age of like 0 to like 19, I read a total of about 2 books. I read The Giver, and that was a great fiction book, but it taught me that, hey, books can be fun. And I also read The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind by Edgar T. Harv, and that book just opened the floodgates to saying, there are literally books out there that will teach me what I need to do to become the person I need to be, to avoid a bunch of mistakes, to become better, to shave years off of learning so I don't have to make all the mistakes that everyone else makes. And that book just made me want to devour every single book. When I was in college, I would have to commute from one place to another, and it was like about an hour to get there, an hour to get back. And that basically meant that was like 2 hours of just reading and reading and reading. It doesn't sound like a lot, but that's 10 hours a week. And that was just me devouring books. And that's what basically helped me out the most. And notice that knowledge is worth so much more than money. So if you ask me today, Tommy, would you give up all the money you have, everything you have today, or would you want to give up your knowledge? I would say I will give up my knowledge. Okay, I'm being honest. Okay, now let me explain why. Because I already know how to acquire knowledge. It takes a little bit more patience, but to say that, it takes luck. People don't talk about this, okay? But there's a level of luck to when it comes to, for example, like achieving what you achieve, even when you know what you know. There's this assumption that if you know, you can just do. But there's also a level of work and patience. And in reality, if I were to give up, for example, the knowledge I have, I would just be like, okay, whatever I have right now, I'll sustain it, I'll maintain it, and I'll just basically take my time acquiring the knowledge all over again. Because the cool thing is that this is just all fictional. No one can take away my knowledge. People can take away my money, everything I have potentially, but you can't take away my knowledge. And the cool thing about knowledge is that it basically compounds. If you read one book today, another book tomorrow, it just keeps compounding in your head. It's not like you lose what you knew before. No, it keeps compounding. And that knowledge just basically keeps granting you. And to me, that is awesome. So when I was in college, those are the 4 things I basically worked on. I worked on learning that time equals money, and I hated it because, by the way, I'm not saying that it's not a good way to basically make a living. It's fine, because if you're a lawyer and time equals money, your time is very, very valuable. And on top of that, the more effort you give, you can actually make a lot more money. But when you have, for example, a normal job, which basically just sucks overall, and you can basically have no climbing ladder, like no ladder to basically climb up, it sucks because it feels like no matter what you do, you're not gonna go anywhere. And the answer is you won't. So you gotta find, if you're fine with just time equals money, that's fine. But find somewhere where there's a ladder you can basically climb and make the most money you possibly can. Through side hustles, I learned that, hey, skill equals a lot more money, and that I can work 4 hours a week, 10 hours a week, and make the money I was basically making in all those jobs, spending a bunch of my time on it. And to me, that was awesome. And then I learned through a dream that, yeah, it can make you 0 money for 11 years, but once it hits, once you understand, once you find the formula, once you're patient, once you put in the work, the effort, you deserve it, and it actually works out, you can make a fortune. And that is awesome. And I learned through knowledge that knowledge is better than money. And that's why one of my favorite books ever is actually the Richest Man in Babylon. So that's The Richest Man in Babylon. And there's a story in this entire book. It's a parable. And a parable is just basically a story. It's not really real, okay? But it's awesome. And it talks about how you have this king, and he sends his son off into the world to actually earn his inheritance. So he gives him 2 bags of money. He gives him 2 clay tablets that basically tells him the rules of money. He says, come back in 10 years and show me what you've done. After 10 years, the kid lost money firsthand. He started to read the tablets after he lost his money, actually used the knowledge. He became very wealthy amongst men. And when he came back, he brought his dad, I think it was like 4 bags of money or 2 bags of money, something like that. And he said, guess what, Dad? The knowledge you gave me was actually worth more than the money, and he earned his inheritance. And I think that, a good goal to have, like Jim Rohn says, is there's a good goal to have. Like, say, I want to become a millionaire. Not for the sake of having $1 million, but for the sake of the person you have to become to get to $1 million. Your character changes, your dreams change, your attitudes change, your habits change. And that to me is awesome. So if you're in college and you're watching this video, I got news for you. You're already a weirdo because no one cares about this stuff. So if you care about this stuff, you're already advanced. But this isn't like the all-be-all video. It's just a gateway video, honestly. So I have more content on this channel about investing, side hustles, different businesses to start. Like, use that content, use that knowledge, and don't just use me. Read books. There's a lot of book reviews on this channel. There's a lot of recommendations and so on. Read books. Acquire knowledge, because that's what's actually going to get you to become wealthy. And focus not just on, for example, destination. Focus on the journey, because that's the most important thing. It's corny, but once you get to the destination, you will also say that. Because if you notice, all the people that become successful in life usually say the exact same thing. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And I get that a lot of people have to go through it to understand it. But if you can understand it before you arrive, just have faith, it will make the biggest difference in your life. But guys, that is it for this video. Hopefully it helps you. Hopefully it gives you value. Comment down below college, so I know you made it all the way to the end of the video. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified. Also, on top of that, up here is another video. Over here is actually my face. Go subscribe. And as always, long-term team officially out. If you want to talk to me one-on-one, just DM me, okay, on Instagram at TommyBryson. All right, peace out. Good luck.